Hello everybody and welcome to the Leading Edge Detailing Online Training Academy. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons for a mobile setup versus a workshop setup. Let's dive straight into it, and please don't mind me glancing at my cheat sheet. I'm going to be uploading this for you as well, so you can download it, print it out and reference to it while I talk. Pros for mobile: lower setup cost, considerably lower setup cost. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars paying for fit out and signage and hoists and flooring and a reception area. You just have to buy or finance a vehicle and put some signs on it. So considerably lower setup cost. Even lower upkeep cost. So with a mobile setup, all you pay for is your insurance and registration. Your ongoing costs are directly linked to your work. So if you have a quiet period, you're not traveling, you're not paying for petrol, you're not paying for toll. You don't have ongoing rent to pay whether you're busy or not. Where with a workshop, it's a completely different matter that we'll talk about later. Also, no fixed location. Doesn't matter where you live, you can go to the customers you want to go to. If you live in an average suburb, you can still go to an affluent area. So very big pro for mobile, which means that area is not as important anymore because you can go to the areas you want to target. You're also flexible in the type of jobs you want to do. You can detail cars, you can also detail boats, you can detail bikes, you can go to the airport and detail airplanes, you can travel and coat some kitchens and do some industrial coatings. Very flexible in how you use the mobile setup, which also means it's transformable. If you started detailing cars and then one day you want to be a marine detailer, you can easily transform what you're doing. You could easily use that vehicle to go and promote off-road coatings and IGL Aegis if you have a 4x4 ute, or in America, a pickup truck. It's also more usable for the family. If you have a detailing workshop, yeah, you can go and have a Christmas party there. Very highly unlikely you're going to have your kid's birthday there. But if you have a mobile vehicle like a 4x4 dual cab, you can go with the family to do some camping. You can use it for personal reasons as well, pick up the kids from school on the way back home. Lots and lots of flexibility in that setup. And as I mentioned already, and highlighting back to the biggest pro for a mobile setup, is just the considerably lower ongoing costs. Let's now talk about the pros for a fixed workshop. It's easier to scale up with staff. The busier you get, the more cars you can bring in, you can hire staff, and you can considerably increase your turnover and the potential to make money as opposed to a mobile setup. You can stack jobs, and by stacking, I mean somebody gives you a call and says, "Hey, Eamon, I have an R34 GTR I want you to detail. I'm not in a hurry for it." And you say to them, "Yep, no problem, bring it over." And that R34 GTR can be parked in the side of the shop and you can work on it during your quiet period. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, as many cars as you can physically store waiting for you to do them, so you're not chasing work when you're quiet. You have work to do, as opposed to a mobile setup, which you can't do that. It also looks considerably more professional. When you walk into a workshop that is beautifully fitted out, has a beautiful reception area, has a coffee machine, has beautiful signage and lights, it reflects very, very positively on your business, as opposed to the mobile setup, which can still be made to look professional, but not as professional as a workshop. You can also have hoists. If you want to do underbody coatings, if you want to do wheel coatings, if you want to take off wheels and do wheel arch cleaning, or simply lift the car up and not break your back when you're polishing, you can have a scissor lift or a 4-post or a 2-post, whatever you like. It's also not impacted by weather. So it doesn't matter what's happening outside. If it's raining, if it's hot, if it's cold, you can just continue on as normal inside the comfort and convenience of your workshop. The time is not an issue in a workshop as much as it is in a mobile setup. So if you're running behind, spend a few hours, do an all-nighter. Doesn't matter. Ask the customer and tell them to leave the car overnight. It's not as bad as you are in a mobile setup. So you're more flexible with timeliness. You also have access to kitchens, bathrooms, fridges. You can sit down and have a stretch. You're not in front of the customer and the customer's not sitting down there with a camping chair looking at you for 12 hours detailing their car, which has happened to me in the past, mind you. You can also sell products. You can sell maintenance equipment and maintenance products. So it's another revenue stream in a workshop. You can do window tinting, you can do PPF, you can expand what you do to make money instead of just detailing. Something that you can't really do as effectively mobile. You can have more equipment, so a lot more storage. Your equipment is there ready for you. You can have spare machines, spare vacuum cleaners, where you might have those at home if you're mobile, but if your vacuum cleaner breaks down in the middle of a job, what are you going to do? Very unlikely you have 2 vacuum cleaners in the back of your car. Considerably faster unpacking and packing away times. You're not wasting time unloading a van and putting things back in at the end of the day. Everything is just there. It's on a trolley. You can just hang it back up. Saves you a lot of time and money. And finally, there is no delay in between jobs. You're not traveling from A to B for a job. As soon as the job is done, park the car on the side, start the next job. The jobs are there waiting for you to do. So those are huge pros for both mobile and fixed location. Let's now talk about the cons, and we can start off with the mobile. With mobile, you're impacted by weather. If it's raining, very likely your jobs are going to get cancelled. If it's too hot, it's going to be very uncomfortable. If it's too cold, it's going to be very uncomfortable. You are at the mercy of the weather, and you're literally saving for a rainy day when you're working mobile and detailing. You're reliant on the customer's garage. You might have the best booking. I remember doing a very good friend's car. So it was a Porsche Macan. It was my first Porsche Macan when I first started. And Daniel, I'm talking about you. And I got there and the garage was extremely tight. And the job was still done. It was fantastic. But I was there crawling between beams and trying to do the job in a bit of a dark garage that wasn't very well lit. So you're reliant on what the customer has. You can go to a job and it might not be something you can do, and you'll have to cancel that booking because it just cannot be done. You can't do everything detailing mobile outside in the elements. You have to have a garage for a lot of the things. You're impacted by traffic. You're wasting time. Instead of working, you're wasting time sitting in traffic waiting to get to the job. And if you're in Sydney, that's a big issue. You can only do one job at a time. Being mobile, one job at a time. Once you finish that job, you can go to your next job. You can't do 2 jobs at a time. Even if you have your vehicle full of staff that you've taken with you, if you have a paint correction job, it's just that paint correction job. Which brings me on to the next point. You're limited with staff. I have first-hand experience that if you are mobile and you have more staff, you're not going to make more money. The same amount of work will be done. It's just going to be done slower per person. So a 6-hour job will still be done in 6 hours, but each one of those people that are working on it will be more comfortable and working at a slower pace. You don't make more money having more staff mobile unless each one of them has their own vehicle and has their own jobs. You have limited tools and limited equipment. You can only pack so much. If you have a large vehicle, you can take more spares. If you have a small car, you're limited in what you can take with you. Simple fact of life, unfortunately, cannot be changed, which means it's more difficult to scale. If your business is booming and you're mobile, it's very hard for you to grow that business. You will just be booked out for a further period. You can't do those jobs any faster. We've already talked about the time delay in between jobs. If you're traveling, you have to factor in the time it takes for you to get from A to B. The time that it takes you to unload and then repack everything does impact your profitability as well. So if you're spending an hour a day unloading and loading things back in your van or ute or car, which is very reasonable. It's half an hour to unload and half an hour to pack everything away. And you're working 6 days a week. That is 6 hours every week you're wasting unloading and reloading. That is almost a full work day for a normal person working in an office. So keep that in mind. And finally, you must finish the job at the time that it was supposed to be finished. If you have booked in a ceramic coating and the person said to you, the customer said to you, it's a brand new car, you go there and it needs a 2-stage paint correction and you have only allowed 1 day for that job, it's going to be a very, very long day for you to do a paint correction and a ceramic coating, simply because you probably have bookings the next day that you can't shift, or the customer has only allowed for a day and they need the car the next day. So you can't really do that in a mobile setup, where in a workshop you can easily do that. You can just say to the customer, look, I need your car overnight, or this is now a 2-day job, thank you, bye-bye. And if you have staff, you can just park some cars out of the way and spend a few extra hours on the initial job. Cons for a workshop. By far, the biggest disadvantage for a workshop is the cost. You have a very high setup cost, which can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Lighting, signage, flooring, decor, plants, hoists, everything costs a lot of money, both to set up and to keep going. You're going to have to pay rent, you're going to have to pay insurance, you're going to have to pay internet, electricity, water, security. There's a lot more ongoing cost and a lot higher cost, and it's a cost that is fixed whether you're busy or not. If you've closed up for COVID like I did, people are still going to be charging you stuff and you still have to pay your rent. Unfortunately, that's just part of having a shop, is just that huge setup cost and huge ongoing cost. And you cannot underestimate that. It is a very big cost indeed. Also, you're in a fixed location. Once you set up that workshop, you have to stay there until your lease agreement runs out, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to set up and a lot of money to take everything down, and even more money if you move. So once you set up, you're stuck there, that's it. And everything else you do from that point on is incredibly expensive, which also leads on to the next disadvantage for a workshop, which is if you live far away from your own workshop, like I did. I used to travel 2 hours each way, 6 days a week. That's 4 hours a day I was spending in traffic, paying thousands of dollars in fuel and toll to go to my own workshop and back, which is a huge cost for me, financially and emotionally, for my family. So that is a disadvantage. You have to go to your workshop. You can't choose where your workshop is going to be or where you're going to live. You might live in an average area. Your workshop might be in an affluent area and they're not close by. That's just how it is. You will also rely more on staff. So staff will bring you more money, but staff will give you a lot more headache and will give you a lot more cost. And that is a disadvantage. When you're a one-man show working mobile, things are simpler. You have to just worry about yourself. You work, you get paid, that's it. Where with a workshop, you have staff, you have to make sure those staff are trained, paid, they do the right thing, they look after the customers' cars. It's a lot more responsibility. And finally, you have greater responsibility for vehicles in your possession. If you're mobile, you go, you do the job, you leave, give the customer the keys and off you go. Where if you have a workshop, you might have $10 million worth of cars in your shop, and that's a lot more responsibility. You have to make sure you're not going to be bumping them or your staff aren't going to be scratching them. So this is my list of pros and cons for mobile versus workshop. The right one for you will depend on your personal circumstances. I have had both. I loved both. I would personally go more towards the workshop path because as a businessman, I wanted to scale up and make more money. I also like the fact of having a microwave and a toilet, things that are very basic that you quickly learn to miss when you're working mobile. It also depends on your circumstances. You might offer both, you might just go to one, but do have a very close think and a very serious think about these pros and cons, because they're also going to impact what you're going to do with the next batch of training videos that I'm going to release, the equipment that you can or should buy. If you are mobile, you will be limited in your equipment, where if you have a workshop, you have much more freedom, but also at a cost. So thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think of this video. Please share with other students any points that I might have missed, because by no means is this a comprehensive list. It's just the list that I could think of from my years of experience, but you might have other experiences to share. Thank you for watching.